Well, you're a fan of soccer too, right?
I'm a huge Chelsea fan, die-hard Chelsea fan. All right, and we've had a couple of down years.
Definitely at Los Angeles.
Let me guess. Let me just throw it up there. You're either a Barcelona fan or a Madrid fan.
Madrid.
And how convenient that is for you, because Madrid wins everything. So
Okay.
good for you for going out
sorry,
on a limb.
I chose it at a young age.
How brave and audacious.
How inconvenient to be a Chelsea fan, and so recently you've been doing good.
It has been inconvenient.
All right, well,
Landon, let's move on.
No,
Yes,
just to wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
Just before I leave the room.
Well, Mr. Lewis, welcome to the Wing It podcast. I gotta thank you for coming on. Well, let's go over. I mean, you're a civics teacher, soccer coach.
Yeah.
You gotta be the biggest Eagles fan I know.
Oh wait, you like the Eagles? Man, I love the Eagles.
No,
man.
the only eagle I like is the one that represents our country, because I sure as heck don't like the one in Philadelphia.
You don't like the Philadelphia Eagles?
No.
Oh.
I like the Raven a lot more.
Oh.
So.
The school Raven.
By the way,
No,
the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh.
But the Tech Ravens too. By the way, Wing It. I love that name for a podcast. Wing
It was designed after an eagle.
No, I don't like that.
Oh, okay.
I think purely just, you're really into politics, so, we don't want to get too much into the political side of it, but what else would you say, is there anything that in particular that really inspired you to be, that changed your mindset on, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be?
I knew that beyond the fact that I had like a slight obsession, at times unhealthy obsession with history and with civics, politics, those kinds of things.
Addiction.
Sometimes it is, and I'm okay with that. Like, my three biggest passions in the world are the ocean, sports, and politics. So, but the other thing too, and this goes back to when I was talking about Steve Carey, my U.S. history teacher, is I knew I wanted to get into a career that involved human interaction. I didn't want to be in an office or a cubicle somewhere. Obviously back then we didn't know that COVID was going to happen, but you see so many people who have moved into working at home and things like that. And I knew that I wanted to be out in the world interacting with humans and building relationships with people, whether it was my colleagues, my students, whatever. And that's one of the, as much as I love what I do, the content that I teach, I equally love the relationships that come with it, and how those evolve over a school year and over the duration or the tenure of a student's career in high school.
So you're very social, very outgoing. Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, I can be super independent when I want to. Like, I'm one of those people. I have no issue going out and grabbing a meal on my own and just being on my own. Like, those things, I love to do those things. I can take a walk on the beach on my own. I can go out and get in the water on my own. But I also am super outgoing too. So I love my independent time and my individual time to kind of escape and get away. But I am a social animal. I love to socialize, and I love to
healthy balance between both of them.
So that's like your favorite part of it, just
socializing.
Being able to socialize.
Like
something you're just passionate about.
So
super passionate about. In our room we're always joking, always laughing, finding the balance about getting serious and staying on task at the same time. I want to know about how your basketball game went, or how did the band do in the parade last night, or how did your podcast go? Those things interest me. So
then, during those years during COVID and online, how did that affect you?
Great
being
question.
able to socialize.
Great question. I struggled. I struggle with it a lot. Not only physically, where I legitimately was getting headaches and things quite a bit, because I feel like I was looking at a screen all the time, but I hated that I hated that I had like a year where I had a group of students that I never physically got to build that rapport with. And there's just a difference. There's just a big difference about being in the physical presence of somebody versus doing, or with someone versus doing something virtually. I understand why the districts did it, but I was bothered when districts didn't mandate or require kids to turn their cameras on sometimes. I want to see who you are. I don't, you can blur your background, you can do all that. Like, that's fine with me. Like, I'm not, but if the problem with COVID is I feel I went weeks and weeks and weeks without even knowing what some people look like. And so I tried to incentivize that to kids, and I think I may have even thrown in like an extra credit points here or there, whether or not I was allowed to, I don't know. I did it anyway. But I don't want to look at your ceiling fan. Like, I don't want to look at your wall. I want to see who you are. And there were a couple kids that were just amazing. But part of that is building a classroom environment where kids want to turn their cameras on. So the cameras did eventually start to come on for a lot of kids during the COVID time, and I was really excited about that because I think, to me, that meant that they were endorsing the social side of our class, and a lot of them were starting to feel comfortable that they could turn their cameras on and feel represented and welcome in my room, and that's a big deal to me. So,
yeah, I mean, like, obviously, you know, like you were talking about the politics side of it. You're a teacher, so I want to ask: is it more of like because, like you said, you know, you didn't always want to be, I guess, a teacher, so there's different sides to it. So, what's the difference between a politician and a teacher? It's a lot different. So, did you want to do more of the debating side of it beforehand?
You know, it's interesting. That question is interesting because, as much as I have a passion for politics, and it is like I have a huge passion for it, I don't have a passion to ever get directly involved in politics. I don't have a passion to run for office. I have a passion to be informed on the people that are running for office, and I think I do that well because I think that's a huge part of citizenship. But I don't personally have, you know, a passion for wanting to eventually ever run for office or anything like that. I do. Now, ironically, I do. Like, I've been a beach lifeguard for a really long time, and I am the vice president of our Sussex County Life Saving Association, which is all the beach patrols down, you know, all through southern Delaware. Okay. So maybe I am lying to you a little bit because I guess technically that is a form of like micro government. Like it is, but yeah, I think I lost track. What was the original question? Because I was,
you know, compared to, you know, as a politician, you're debating compared to being a teacher.
Good. And debating is a huge, like, passion within my classroom. Yeah. So, like, after winter break, Landon, we're going to get into that, and we're going to pick a First Amendment topic, and we're going to set up and prep for a debate in our room. Okay. And I think it's something that, you know, children and the youth and adults alone are struggling in this country now on how to have positive and what's what I'm looking for, like, really like respectable conversation amongst each other. It doesn't necessarily have to be debate, but I just think we're struggling to have open and free and respectful dialogue with each other like we used to. I don't know that I can point to one thing. I think social media is a crutch. I think COVID was a crutch, and I think that we just lack civility sometimes, because I have some really close friends of mine that do not see eye to eye with me politically at all, but they're still close friends of mine because we can coexist because we have mutual respect for each other, and there's other things in our lives we can talk about. And I get frustrated with people that are keyboard warriors, that they're real brave and courageous behind a keyboard, but get them in a room and ask them to actually have conversations with people, and they fold like a chair. They don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I know you're excited for that TikTok ban, I heard.
The TikTok ban, I can't wait.
Oh.
Now, I will say this. I'm not the Grinch all the time. I believe that I have social media. I believe that there's a place for social media, and I think there's a lot of positive things about it. It brings awareness. It gets people out to things like voting and get involved in their communities. When people graduate high school and things, it's a way for them to connect with their friends, their long-lost friends. It's how you find out about people's weddings and about their children, and I think those things are incredible. The downside of it, and the TikTok in America looks nothing like the TikTok over in like Asia and China. It's very different. And I think the negatives of TikTok sometimes can outweigh the positives, and I do very much believe it becomes an addiction. And I think kids aren't getting outside like they used to. Like, I joked the other day with one of my classes, I was watching this comedy, this comedian was putting on a skit, and he was joking about, he goes, you know, when I was a kid and I would walk into a classroom, every class I walked into, there was a kid on crutches or multiple kids that had casts on. He goes, when you walk in classrooms anymore, do you see kids with crutches? Do you see kids wearing casts anymore? You know why? Because they're not climbing trees, and they're not, you know, playing in the sandbox, and they're not running around. They're not doing the physical things that they used to do. They're not building tree forts, right? And he was just kidding to a degree, But
you're good
there was
with
a
it.
there was a wider point to what he was making, and the audience
Sure.
knew it. You could sense it in the audience because he was funny in the way he delivered it. But there's truth to that. Like there's people that are just inside too much, and I just think we've lost our connection with, not to get too spiritual, but we've lost our connection not just with each other, but with the physical universe. We've lost our connection with, with just the physical side of things as well. And I think that's a huge thing when schools don't have recess anymore, or kids aren't doing things in gym class like they should be.
Recess, love recess.
How
They
I-
need to bring it
100%.
back, Yeah.
How
Bring
I
the
miss
monkey
it.
bars back.
Yeah.
Like let me battle a kid on the monkey bars.
No,
Like let me.
I can't do monkey
No,
bars.
is that traumatic for you?
I
Does it
fell
bring-
off one time and almost broke my leg. I never went on one again.
Yeah,
Never again.
it can be traumatic. Absolutely, and I mean
I
the
hate
monkey
monkey
bars
bars.
that's
I
like
hate
a
them.
life lesson. I feel like the monkey bars are like something every kid, or like one of those really. Those slides that you go down that when it's like 90 degrees outside, it like burns your legs and your back.
Yeah.
Those old school slides. Yeah, but anyway, I know I took that in a million directions, but I hope I'm making sense to what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got
exactly.
you.
So I want to move into a different segment now,
Cool.
moving off the subject of civics. So I want to talk media, as you know, I'm a movie guy, so I wanted to just talk a little, some pop culture stuff.
Awesome.
So, what's your favorite movie? Start off that.
Oh my God.
It's a broad question.
So
but
these questions bother me, and when I say bother, I want to clarify that I love your question. It's like when people ask me what my favorite song is. So can I do a
up.
little
It's
rundown? So I
it's coming
think,
up.
so going back to, you asked me what's one of the things that really got me into social studies. One of my obsessions with history has always been shipwrecks, and specifically the Titanic. The Titanic is what probably, when I was a young kid, got me into my passion for not just the ocean, but for like historical content. And the original Titanic movie, which adjusted for inflation is one of the top selling movies in the history of the world. I loved it. Now I know there's the romantic side of it, of the movie and stuff, but I fell in love with the CGI. I fell in love with the just the cinematography, all of it, and I fell in love with the characters, the plot. I had a slight crush on Kate Winslet. Leonardo DiCaprio's role was amazing. So that, from a history perspective, I loved.
yeah,
Did you cry?
James Cameron's a great director.
James Cameron is amazing, of course, and he's responsible for the Avatar movies as well. So
Terminator.
Terminators, yep,
He's great.
absolutely. I think he played a role in the original Jaws movie as well with Steven Spielberg, but I could be wrong. I'm a big horror movie fan. The original Halloween in 1978 or 79 is my
Oh.
favorite. John Carpenter, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan.
The Thing. I love
The Thing.
I love that one.
I'm a big fan of thriller movies too. Like pretty much anything Denzel Washington's in. Gangs of New York is one of my favorite movies of all time with Leonardo DiCaprio and God, who played Bill the Butcher? Daniel Day-Lewis. And of course that's related to history. Not perfectly, aligned with how history happened, but The Patriot I loved, which again, there's some historical inaccuracies in that movie, but from an entertainment value, I loved it. Gladiator is another history movie that I love.
Have you seen
the
either
new
one?
No, I can't
Really?
wait to see it, but I'm going to wait till I think tomorrow night because my theater in Ocean City offers discounts on Tuesdays. So I think
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that.
I thought it was great. I mean, the first one it isn't obviously historically accurate. Either.
No,
There's-
there are parts that align, but parts that definitely don't.
Yeah, and I don't think if you've seen the trailer to the second one, I don't think sharks were swimming in the.
They were not. I do think that there might have been evidence that they did flood the Colosseum at times,
Yeah.
but not sharks. There's
Yeah.
no evidence to support that sharks were, no, not at all. Some people didn't even know, a lot about sharks at that time, but.
But it's for the entertainment value. So.
Yeah, if you want to get people
It's
in,
good.
if you want to get people in the seats, you got to offer them a little bit more than history. You got to offer them some entertainment, and so that's okay. But man, those are some big ones, and I'm sure I can come up with more on my list for you. I love comedy too. My God, I love comedy. Will Ferrell in the early 2000s, I was a huge fan. I think the funniest movie I ever saw, the first time I saw it, was Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I probably teared up multiple times in that movie from laughing so hard. But yeah, I love pretty much every genre.
The one movie that did make me actually laugh out loud was White Chicks.
I love White Chicks.
It made me it's the first movie I watched I was like 10, and it
Yeah.
actually made me like bust out crying. It
Yeah.
was
So
hilarious.
the Wayans brothers are getting back together for the first time in like 17, 18 years. They're going to make another Scary Movie.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Oh,
Scary
yeah,
Movie
yeah,
6,
love-
I think, like a parody off of which is going to be
It's
awesome. It's just one of those like mindless, stupid, just hilarious movies, which sometimes we all need. We all need to just be able to sit there and just laugh. You know, not every story has to be super complex. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it's good to just sit and like, there doesn't have to be like some crazy plot. We can just sit there and laugh our butts off. That's okay.
Yeah, and that's another thing I don't think they make enough of anymore, just spoofs. You know,
Ah.
going back to like Mel Brooks movies.
I love Mel Brooks.
Spaceballs. That's great.
Spaceballs is great. I show excerpts from History of the World from Mel Brooks in my world history class. He does a couple on. He does one on like the French Revolution, one on the Black Death, and Mel Brooks is still kicking, like almost 100 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love, you talk about spoofs. I use a lot of SNL clips in my civics and economics class, and I'll continue to do that because SNL has got some great stuff, especially on the political side. It's tough because I always pre-watch them several times because I try to keep my room very objective, and I don't want people to think that I'm like attacking the Democrats or the Republicans on purpose, or that I'm like trying to like subtly influence anybody. I try really, really hard to keep my room very neutral, you know, and if I show a clip that's spoofing the Democrats, I'll make sure that next week I show one that spoofs the Republicans or whatever. But that's another big balance of being a civics teacher, is making sure that I keep my room
PC.
as politically correct as I
Yeah.
can. Right, and I try to eliminate any forms of bigotry or any forms of, you know, of discrimination and things like that. I want everyone to walk in and feel super comfortable in my classroom. So,
Sure, yeah. Well, just quickly on the subject of that, I think one of my favorite movies, probably of all time, is Interstellar. Have you seen Matthew McConaughey?
I heard that they're going. Did I hear that IMAX just like
Yeah,
recently
they just
sold out?
re-released it, yeah.
Christopher Nolan is just a stud. Let's call him what he is. I mean, he's just an
Yeah.
animal. Like I've seen several of his movies, and I'm a huge fan. He is kind of, you probably have to say he's maybe the most accomplished modern day director.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There are others that are competing with him, but he's very selective in his films. He always has like a recurring cast that he brings back, and there's a lot of his films that I love. I mean, obviously the Dark Knight series,
Trilogy, yeah.
and oh my God, what was the one? Inception was fantastic.
Yep.
I did not get that movie at all.
Believe me,
It was
it
so
wasn't
good.
like I watched it the first time and I was,
It's-
you know, there's so many layers to that. I had to watch it multiple times too. But Christopher Nolan's amazing.
And Oppenheimer is his most recent movie.
Love Oppenheimer.
I did want to ask you, like, I thought it was going to be like outside of your list with like how historical it is.
I loved Oppenheimer. Do I put Oppenheimer? Oppenheimer is probably in my top 10 history-based movies of all time, maybe top 5. It was, first of all, it was brilliantly researched. If you want to go and look at, because Christopher Nolan also did, what was the other war movie he did recently? Oh my God, it was so good, but it was a little bit shorter. Man, but anyway, Oppenheimer I thought was good because a lot of, like we said with Gladiator and a lot of these history movies, like Braveheart's another example. There's a lot of movies out there that have, it's probably 50-50 on like historically accurate versus entertainment value. Oppenheimer, you're looking at like 85-15, 90-10. Like the amount of research that went into that role, and the cast in that movie was just terrific. It was brilliantly cast,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I think Nolan took a lot of care in that film. Dunkirk, by the way, Dunkirk is the
Okay,
other movie
yeah,
I was thinking of.
Dunkirk.
But the amount of care that they took to do the research on that film for Oppenheimer was incredible. It was historically really well done, and so that's what I appreciated most about that movie. Now, I think a lot of times, and I think I blame social media for this sometimes, people today in movies aren't always interested in like the 2.5, 3 hour epics, because it requires you to really be patient and like really develop with the plot. And I don't think a lot of us have the patience for that anymore, because we all just look at reels all day. And you know, the actual explosion and testing of the bomb isn't until the end of the movie. So like if you're someone who has the time to like let that plot build and get excited for the end of the movie, it's great. But I tell people if I tell my students, if you're waiting for, the film to be, for the explosions the entire time, and you're waiting to be on the edge of your seat the whole time, then you're watching the wrong movie.
Well, I think that's kind of the genius of the movie, because the movie is kind of a game changer. Recently made $1 billion for like an R-rated drama. I mean, that's never heard of. So I think that's just a testament to Nolan, because it's a raved movie. I think it won Best Picture.
And remember, it came out. It came out the exact same time as Barbie.
Barbie,
yeah,
and
Barbenheimer.
And that's like making my point, right? The
Barbenheimer,
Barbenheimer or whatever, like that. That was kind of funny and kind of cool. And yeah, it was rated R. And so I think a lot of critics and probably Nolan himself were worried, is my movie going to get to enough of the audiences in the world if it's rated R? And it did. Now Barbie was at a different level because, and I never saw the Barbie movie, but I heard they did a fantastic job on that movie too. So Barbie is culture too. So I'm not going to sit here and ridicule Barbie, because Barbie is a huge part of American culture. And I think that movie was really empowering for women and for a lot of different cultural groups, from what I hear. And so I applaud that movie too, because I think that apparently they did an excellent job on that one. There's probably going to be a sequel to that movie too.
But at some point.
Yeah.
You said that one of your your top 3 passions, for what I heard, is politics, ocean, and sports.
Yeah.
What's his favorite sport team then?
Soccer.
I watch everything. Like I'm a weird. I watch everything from beach volleyball. Seriously, like I do, because I play a lot of it. Beach volleyball to the NFL. Like I was born in South Carolina, but I was kind of been raised on the Eastern Shore, so I've always been a pretty diehard Baltimore fan. So I'm a diehard Orioles fan. Even the last, we've only recently been good. Like it's been a lot of hardship for a lot of time. But the people that are the real fans, we deserve to celebrate when the team is good, because same thing. Like, Philly fans have gone through it too. But like I'm a diehard Ravens fan, diehard Orioles fan, and a big Washington Wizards fan as well. And we've been terrible for years. Like, you can go to a Washington Wizards game right now. They'll pay you to go to the game. That's how bad they are. They'll give you throw in a hot dog and a soda for free.
I might have to go.
It's bad. Like, you want to go watch a New York Knicks game, you're paying $200. But you want to go watch like a Lakers game or something like that. But we're really bad. But I still.
Well, you're a fan of soccer too, right?
Huge. Yeah, I mean, I've coached soccer. I played soccer and coached soccer my whole life. So. Big baseball, big soccer guy. I'm a huge Chelsea fan. Die-hard Chelsea fan. All right, and we've had a couple of down years.
Suddenly I lost interest.
Let me guess. Let me just throw it up there. You're either a Barcelona fan or a Madrid fan.
Madrid.
And how convenient that is for you, because Madrid wins everything. So
okay.
Good for you for going out on a limb.
I chose it at a young age.
How brave and audacious. Because since you were young, they've been good. Madrid has never not been good in your lifetime.
And it's not my fault that they are good.
Good for you.
Okay,
That's fantastic.
My favorite Premier League is Arsenal.
Good for you. Again, another top 3 or 4 team. A team that is the only team in the last 20 years that is invincible. That in 2004 they never lost a game. So how convenient for you? It must be a rough life being a Madrid fan.
How inconvenient to be a Chelsea fan until recently you've been doing good.
It has been inconvenient. We had to sell our team because our owner was Russian, and we know what was going on with Russia and their invasion of Ukraine. He had to go.
Spent millions of dollars for no reason.
And got no success out of it.
Nothing.
Right, so the world continued to laugh at us. So you're only making my point.
I keep laughing at you.
Is that, but now Chelsea's on the rise again. I don't think we're going to win the Premier League. I don't. A lot of people think Chelsea's in the race. I don't. I'm a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I'm not one of those fans that, like, when things are bad, I name call my team, and when things are really good, I brag about it. Like, I'm very, very modest about my teams. And I think Chelsea has a really good shot to finish top 4. But I'm not on the bandwagon that we're going to win the league this year. Like, I'm one of those people that's like, dude, chill. Like, we're healthy. We're starting to actually play well. Let's just worry about the
doing
little
all right,
things.
actually.
Exactly.
The bare minimum.
We're not even in the Champions League. Like, let's get back into the Champions League. Let's rebuild who we are, like the inner culture of our locker room. And then we can have these conversations in 2 or 3 years. But Chelsea is not one of the top teams in the world.
No, it was pathetic seeing a Chelsea fan trying to bet on games. It was for years I ridiculed you.
Wait, who was betting on games?
Some of my friends that are Chelsea fans were betting on games.
There's no more dangerous team to bet on than Chelsea.
Yeah, I know.
Because Chelsea can go out and beat Barcelona one day and then lose to Leeds United.
Yeah, no, it's a double-sided sword.
Are we losing you a little bit, Landon?
Yeah.
No, sorry. I was going to say.
No, it's good. I'm glad to have this conversation with you. I have a lot of admiration for I would never use the word hate for a team, so I appreciate you using that word against me. That's
well,
fair
it's
comment.
okay. I set that up anyway. So.
Madrid is. I have a lot of envy for Madrid as far as our culture. Madrid's the biggest club in the world, and so they're, they could win the Champions League again this year.
It was hard when they hit like a low point where they weren't winning.
But you hear yourself, right? A low point. Listen to this, Landon. A low point for his favorite club is when they have 2 or 3 off games. Right? A low club for me is when our billionaire owner is ripped away, which, by the way, he probably should have been because he was friends with Putin, right? And so I get that part of it. But like a bad time for Chelsea is when we're in the bottom of the table. We've had 3 or 4 consecutive bad weeks, if not months. This guy's version of a bad week is Mbappe doesn't score a goal. Get over it. And I digress.
There was a couple of seasons where we were doing so bad that it was genuinely pathetic, and
You mean years when you wouldn't win La Liga, but you'd still win the Champions League? Oh, buddy, I'm so sorry for you.
Okay.
All right,
Landon, let's move on.
Just to wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
Just before I leave the room.
Just to wrap it up, I want to thank you for coming on. When they asked me, who do you want to have on the podcast? No question, Mr. Lewis.
Appreciate you, man.
You're a piece of entertainment yourself, so I want to thank you for coming on. I know you guys aren't on the best terms now.
No, we are. We can get over that. I just told him I have respect for Madrid, and I do.
I used to be a Chelsea fan when I was like 5 years old, and then I moved to Arsenal because they just looked cool there.
So you just skipped from one club in London to another club?
I was 5, yeah, and then I stuck with Arsenal.
And look, you're wearing your Arsenal red today. Good for you.
Oh yeah, of course.
I love this. I love this kind of stuff. And actually, interesting with podcasts, real quick, is I was just in Boston on like a teacher conference thing, and several of the sessions they put on there is the future of the use of podcasts in the classroom. And I already use podcasts in my room. Like you'll see a lot, Landon, when we get to economics. I used Planet Money, and I used The Indicator from NPR. I used Civics 101 for civics a little bit. But we had several presenters that were actually talking about how can you actually create projects in your classroom where kids can build their own podcast. And so I'm starting to look into that, hopefully to start something this year, but if not, soon, where I can have my students either individually or collectively like collaborate and build their own podcast on something, on a topic that interests them in the classroom. And I think that could be something that could even be a substitute for a summative where kids can actually do something fun like that as a project. I'm really looking forward to that because it looks like there's a lot of possibilities out there for that.
Yeah, sure. And I think, kind of the point of the podcast is bring the teachers on and just, I think there's a notion that teachers are, these high authoritative people, but, they're really just...
We're just chill, man. We're chill.
Chill guys.
We're chill. Yeah, we have...
Nonchalant.
Yeah.
Nonchalant. So, but yeah, I want to thank you for coming on, Mr. Lewis.
Appreciate you guys.
It's been fun.
We'll have to do it again down the road before you guys graduate.
Yeah.
We'll do part 2, and I'll bring in my favorite musicians and a couple more movies for you guys to watch. Or we could break down. We could do like we could watch a movie together, like a Christopher Nolan movie. We could do like a critical.
Yeah.
Let's do something like that.
Honestly, that'd be funny.
A critique.
Yeah, that'd be.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we can give it a grade and everything.
I'll bring in a chart of Chelsea and see how much I've lost over the years.
Yeah, for example, like Mbappe, who probably like a year ago was considered the best player in the world, has dropped out of the top 10. So, but he can relate to that, right? So,
sure.
Sorry.
Okay.
Final jabs.
Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for watching or listening, whichever you're doing, and thanks to Mr. Lewis again for joining us.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Yep.